was a good one. Happy Comic Book Day and welcome back, all you four-color funny book aficionados. This is US Comics Cast, HQ for all things comic book connected. We are John and Charlie Rivera, the co-founders of US Comics. Charlie, happy Comic Book Day.
Sure it is. Happy Comic Book Day to you and to everyone listening or watching today. As always, we are brought to you by Bad Mary Band and Sergeant Finesse Gaming. I'm having a bit of a mental crisis, but if you haven't done so already,
live on screen,
attack that like and or follow button like you're crushing your enemies and seeing them driven before you. Do it for Crom if you're going to do it for any fucking body.
Word the fuck up. Charlie said it right, and I do have to give him full credit where credit is due. He avoided the so easy and desirable to lapse into Arnold voice, because we indeed are talking about our collective man, the big Australian muscles, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Austrian.
He has
not Australian.
Austrian, that's all the same shit.
Friday.
There it is. I knew he could.
I'll be back.
I knew he had
I'm trying to do like an Austrian hybrid.
Oh my God! There's a kangaroo coming after me. Get to the chopper. These kangaroos are killers.
I just imagine Schwarzenegger as Thor.
I
would
knew
have absolutely been like the '88 casting of Avengers.
Yeah, 200%, absolutely. Again, Arnold Schwarzenegger is. Still, here we are, 2023.
Say it.
Hercules.
What is Arnold Schwarzenegger?
He's
back.
I wasn't going there, but I do appreciate the editorial edition. No, man, I honestly can't believe it. The FUBAR on Netflix, currently streaming, marks Arnold Schwarzenegger's first foray into television. It's unbelievable. Arnold,
you can't
who
let
seems
Sly have
like
dick.
Well, you know what? That's an interesting counterpoint. But to be frank, he has been governor of more states than television shows that he has been the lead of, which boggles my fucking mind. But it's true. Arnold on the small screen, baby. It's incredible. So yeah, Charlie and I, we jointly launched into this series, and we finished it separately. But Charlie, I'm gonna throw it right to you, man. What do you think? What did you think of the Big Man's season 1 effort?
I mean, let's set the stage for my viewing. I'm in a horrible mood.
Oh, right, sir.
In life, we'll talk about it in the second segment. I get out of that sort of headspace temporarily because I'm me. We sit down. We're trying desperately to find a movie to watch. We can't find anything despite 38 subscription services.
And a 95-inch television.
And I say, what about this FUBAR show? I heard it exists. Because I've heard no talk about it. And you respond, yeah, let's watch it. My friend said it sucks. To paraphrase the setup, we have warm, delicious Chinese food. We're like, this is better than literally nothing, and you go, barely. I heard it's barely better than just stewing in our own fucking dirt.
To be fair, that friend that I was referring to is Sylvester Stallone. So again, you got to take certain things with a grain of salt and see if you can swallow them down. But what was the Charlie take on the content? Unbiased.
I do not know. I don't know if it's because my expectations were immediately set to the bottom tier. I'm not sure if it's because it's filled with beautiful people, men, women alike. I was shocked at how much I enjoyed it. We got Christian right out of the gate.
Christian,
fresh off of being spoiled from The Flash. Christian, not to go off topic, I heard Flash got spoiled for you and my heart shattered for you, but you did get to hang out with the actual Jersey girl herself, who has grown into just an absolute, not only wonderful woman, not only a beautiful woman, but the once teeny tiny little girl from Kevin Smith's Jersey Girl.
Baby child.
One of the most beautiful broads I've ever seen in my entire life. But John, I was blown away at how much I liked FUBAR. It seemed to have so much more depth than I think it had any business having. The entire time I was kind of perplexed by its quality. It looked good. It was mixed well. The jokes all land for me. It's not failed. It felt like a spiritual successor, as your copy for this episode imply, to True Lies. If this was labeled True Lies 2, his daughter's a spy now, I'd have been like a little on the nose. A little on the nose, but fucking I think it's great. They have a very soft-jawed villain, which I really appreciate, because they kind of shoot Arnold like he's just a normal guy, but this teeny tiny villain, they're like giving him the most ominous lighting, and this little guy,
the lighting is also appropriate for like a GQ shot. So he's like, hey, how's it going? Just to answer Ellis, who's joining us from YouTube today, Ellis gets around like that one in high school you heard about. But God bless him, he's never lonely. Ellis, we will not be spoiling FUBAR in so much as what happens at the end of it is this, or even really like spoilery moments that I don't think it's really that kind of show, to be totally frank.
Turns out he's a robot, but other than that, spoiler.
No, Arnold's done that already, bro. We're gonna really more so just be spoiling about like kind of our reception of it all, but good question. So no one asked, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Charlie, I really enjoyed it, but I think that I enjoyed it in a different way and for different reasons than you did. Certainly not the way that I enjoyed Fast X, because that was hilarious. No, I really enjoyed this because I grew up with Arnold Schwarzenegger's most serious, like catchphrase dropping, bad guy blowing up in, thumbs like up Commando, while you're going into the fucking lava-ish type of metal lake of fire. Charlie, don't invoke the name of Crom unless you're ready to fucking cross swords, son. No, you know why I really enjoyed this, Charlie? Because look, the bottom line is, and undeniably so, Arnold Schwarzenegger is an actor of a certain age, right? In the same way that somebody
he's like old as fuckish.
Yeah, he's like dirt. He's like Austrian dirt, but Austrian dirt is still very, very functional. It's very good. The same way.
I heard it tastes like creatine. That's what Austrian dirt tastes like.
That's not creatine, but it's an easy mistake to make. No, what I was saying was like in the same way that Helen Mirren is an actor of a certain age, but still very much a snack. Arnold still got it, man. Arnold is still able to entertain in that action genre. However, what this is to me, this is almost like Arnold Schwarzenegger operating within a parody, right? So it's a parody for a few reasons. Number one, Arnold, the action star, he's playing an older guy. Obviously, I mean, there's not enough CGI in the world to change that fact. Fucking Terminator 19 would prove that. But also, it's kind of a parody of those procedural type shows, like again, military and certainly police, things like that. This kind of took that overall storytelling style and put a nice Austrian spin on it, which is a bowling term. And it really made it enjoyable. You're totally right. It was legitimately funny in many moments. It was absolutely action-packed for sure. But where it was funny, it was really in kind of like a dad jokey, like you're groaning, but you are laughing. So I felt like it was 100% very effective in what it was trying to do. So clearly, again, Arnold is the top of the heap as far as the cast is concerned. Did anybody else in the cast particularly pop for you?
I actually think the entire cast was shocking how quickly every character grew on me.
Okay.
On the other side of the first episode, he has a guy who he's kind of worked with for 20 years.
Here's the guy.
Who looks maybe 30, who winds up being the godfather of his daughter before chaos ensues. And originally my criticism was like, this guy is so fucking young. He is a black actor, or a blackter is what I always say. But quite literally, I believe I described, once they explained his familial relationship, I went, what is this, the fucking best example of black don't crack? And then it's a line in the show.
Charlie,
so
it was as if you were writing the show as you went along. They quoted you multiple times.
I truly think that the cast is actually this show's superpower. They are characters you're introduced to, and I think, at least me, I tend to watch pilots, episode 1s. I tend to watch them very critically, because I'm like, what are they trying to fucking get me to invest in? Because fuck them. I'm not going to do what they tell me to do. They're a TV show. And there's 2 other agents you're introduced to. One's like a fucking stereotypical, like super handsome, a very John Rivera type.
Well,
and the other one's like a chubby lesbian, a very Charlie Rivera type. But both of them more than earn their spot.
Can we start calling you Rue?
Yeah, done. I don't give a fuck. Who gives a shit? What is it going to fuck up my life?
Charlie,
I beat you there, new nickname.
He's gonna get the Rue Ghostbusters patch made up.
Fuck yeah, I ordered it already. But for me, I think what really stood out to me was that every fucking actor, main character, secondary character, victim number 8, every single one of them knew their assignment and fucking hit it out of the park. I don't necessarily think it was one of those shows where I'm like, this handsome guy is the next Superman. No, that wasn't the case. This handsome guy is the best handsome guy for this part. And if I saw him at a con and he was charging $20 for a fucking photo, I'd be like, hey, the handsome guy from that show I liked. I think I was most impressed, though, by the co-lead. His daughter is delicious. Yes, and it turns out memorized all her lines, which is all she needed to do, but also really understood her part.
Oh, Charlie, really I really foresee at least TV directing in the future, because you're like, nope, this is what it says on the page. Do it. So Charlie, of course, is referring to, and I'm looking at IMDb as we speak, so I'll mispronounce all kinds of shit. Monica Barbero, which is like, to me, Hanna-Barbera. So I appreciate
Or as
that.
I like to call her, the other dime piece from Top Gun Maverick. The main
other than Tom Cruise
dime piece being Tom Cruise.
Yeah, naturally, sure.
And Iceman a little bit. For a guy who went through that horrible surgery, Iceman's still looking delicious. She was every bit as charismatic. We discussed it probably
but
too
not
much.
With these good people.
Top Gun Maverick is fucking on the show. We talked about how great Top Gun Maverick was.
Yes.
To pluck her out of that and for her to get a co-starring role, a proper co-star.
Yeah, a lead.
Fucking well-deserved, man. I think she was super fucking charming, super badass when she needed to be, super vulnerable. It really was like, if I was looking for something to dislike about the show, maybe that it's only 10 episodes so far. Like, I was shocked at how fucking good it was. And I said a couple weeks ago, we're kind of in this like accidental golden period where like every fucking where you look is super quality shit and no one's paying attention to it because we're constantly getting kind of it thrown out there.
Let me ask you this though, because you refer to it as like super quality shit. What category would you have put it in for the Charlie viewership?
Like what shows it?
Yeah, like what kind of a show is this?
This is CSI Las Vegas Nights. It's a basic bitch procedural comedy, except it's like good, and I want to watch more of it.
Those other style shows, and they do their damnedest. No one's ever gonna doubt their effort
for what they're doing. Yeah,
but yeah, I'm saying like there's a formula to that all, and this show kind of follows a similar formula, but unlike those other. I wouldn't even say that they are inspirational towards this show, because I don't think that's the case. I think this show is very aware of what it is. Again, it's almost parody, but sometimes a parody of the thing is just as good as the thing, and occasionally even better. Because while I wouldn't rank this anywhere even near the top 10 of Arnold Schwarzenegger vehicles, I would put it above Conan the Destroyer because that's a piece of trash. But as far as like the actual show, what it entails, I would easily put it above the shit that it's kind of like taking a taking a piss at.
What was your favorite kind of procedural? I think a lot of people would say the top of their mountain for like a straight procedural is maybe Dexter, which we all know had a very troubling finish and a troubling reboot. Other people, I forget the one with the fucking pineapple that was on FX. That eludes me. It was the guy pretended he was a psych. Was a beloved procedural that was very kind of mocking. Procedural. Well, yeah, CSI is the most boring, basic one.
So yeah, before you run them all off, my absolute favorite procedural is King of the Mountain. In that it's Law and Order. Now, Law and Order it's almost laughable because you can pretty much before the credits are over say, "That's who did it."
Guest starring.
It's a very, very simple process. A very, very simple process, much like this show, where you can kind of establish, and then you say, "All right, well, we've crossed that off the list. Now let me sit back. Which performances are so bad they're great? Which performances like so good that they're shocking? How many fucking guest stars are we gonna be able to cross off the list? Because that's when you really throw a monkey wrench into the formula." But yeah, Law and Order was dead serious with it all. There was no winking involved, whereas this show there's plenty of winking. It's not so much a case of like the way that all of those terrible over the top wannabe parody movies came out, like the fucking
it's not like Scary Movie or
those movies that are like
not another teen movie
over the top. You're like, well, maybe this was funny in the concept meeting, but it's not funny or entertaining at all. This is what it's parodying, but it ends up doing it far better than most of that at this point. But I do want to kind of run through the rest of the group because there were some surprises for me.
Yeah.
You had mentioned her also earlier, and you by all means have earned and taken that moniker. Rue, who's played by Fortune Feimester, and again, I promise you in advance I was going to mispronounce everything.
Fortune Feimester.
And I would. So she's a stand-up comedian. And you can almost, knowing that, if you didn't know that going in, like I did, you can almost extrapolate that from her delivery, from her demeanor. But Charlie, can I ask you a question? I often will watch shows like this. I know I can ask him the question. I don't know why I tried to preface that.
You'd be a fucking weird podcast. But I was like, no, go fuck yourself.
And Charlie's like, nah, I'm the fuck out. Carry on, bitch. Couldn't you see if this show had been made, say, 5 years earlier, a little bit less gray in Arnold's beard and eyebrows, which was kind of weird, couldn't you see her role being played by like a T.J. Miller type?
100%.
Like, a lot of her lines I almost heard with his like very grating, irritating voice. Like even the stupid facial modulations. Yeah. Clearly, I'm not a huge TJ fan.
This was like that, except I didn't hate myself at the end of it.
Thank you very much, because that's exactly what I thought. I'm like, oh shit, she's almost like doing TJ Miller's act, but better.
But like good,
but just better.
Like funny?
Yeah, exactly. That's
kind of
exactly
charming.
Right. So I'm glad to hear that was not that was not like I just hate him so much that I'm willing to.
Hey TJ Miller, go fuck yourself.
Yeah. I'm like, you know how TJ Miller was in Spider-Man? He wasn't in any of the Spider-Mans. Yeah, that's because he sucks. Who else? There were a few.
Who was the guy I thought should have been Hannibal Buress when I recast the show? So in the middle of the first episode,
Milan Carter plays Barry, who, as Charlie had mentioned before, he does a fantastic job. Honestly, he would not be his character. I should say would not be out of place in like a third box on this very podcast right here. He plays like kind of one of us. One of us. So yeah, but he is almost laughably too young for a lot of what they talk about. However, what this show also does is they're self-aware, right? They're not just self-aware in the fact of like Arnold's old as dirt. Yep. and the fact that it's a parody of these procedural type group shows. Yep, absolutely. But also they're self-aware of what was said an episode back, 2 episodes back, earlier that episode. So many times Charlie and I both were sitting there saying, hey, what about XYZ? What about this widget? What about that factoid? And they literally, like, almost as if they are hearing us in the same time, they're addressing those things. They do actually a better job. As I said, sometimes the parodies are better than what they're parodying. They do a far better job of connecting the tissues, dotting the I's, crossing the T's, than the shit that they're not mocking, but kind of like elbowing and winking. They do it consistently, and they do a fucking great job of it. I'm going to throw it back to you, Charlie. A familiar face for both of us, Jay Baruchel. Again, I promise the mispronunciation.
Jay Baruchel, I think.
Sure,
it's
that also. We'll do a third version, which is probably right.
Seth Rogen's friend.
Not Seth Rogen. Charlie, I was very, very surprised to see him, and in this capacity, having kind of like drank in all of his other work. Where would you put this for him?
His second best performance. He is a wonderful. I would throw him in the character actor category
for sure.
He's kind of always playing. Sometimes not his Canadian version of himself, but he's like a
Canadian fucking nibbish.
Yes,
I just want to say.
Yes. This was the first time I think he played like an adult. Right. He's been playing, I think, like to say his characters generally are a bit arrested in their development wouldn't be a lot. This is that
also
guy
in their body because he's built like a 12-year-old girl.
That's true. But he still has all that fucking charm. He's still delivering what they're paying him to deliver. But what's that?
You root for him in all of these stories. You root
for him.
Whether he's like dating a dime piece like fucking what's her face, the nurse from Star Trek,
yes.
Green. I don't know names. Fucking This Is the End. Obviously, I just want him to survive. Everybody else can fuck right off. Though I do love them, and I know I'd be the first one to go in that situation.
I'd be right after Rihanna, right in that fucking hole. In more ways than one.
He is always just like, he's just some people have a punchable face. I've been accused of such. He's got a lovable face. You see him and you just want to, hey, my little punum there, come here, you little Canadian
bastard. You want him to succeed. And
you do.
I think it was really great seeing him play such a simple version of a complex, fully formed human.
Yeah.
Either he wrote down this guy's last 40 years or someone handed him what his life was, because every single scene, if he's trying to be nice to his girlfriend, if he's trying to kiss up to her dad, if he's trying to understand the dynamics of her mother's boyfriend, even though Arnold is there's so much he's doing with he's there for a little bit
material.
Yeah, he's there for a little bit of dramatic. He's there for dramatic tension. He's there sometimes as a foil to some characters, sometimes as the punching bag to another character. And yet the entire fucking time, you're like, I don't care if everyone else gets shot in the face. Can this poor bastard
some of them do.
Just get through his day?
There you go.
No, I thought he was great. This show really did have a big case of ensemble, considering Arnold fucking Schwarzenegger is in it. This is an ensemble piece.
Yeah,
and a great one. The fucking director of whatever organization Arnold happens to be working for, even she, you get to episode 4, you're like, I guess this is just an Amanda Waller type. Then they just drop this, great, subtle, wonderful scene with her. And I'm like, you fucking, who bothered? Why are you... The only thing about the show I found somewhat infuriating was it did the things I normally bitch at shows for not doing.
I know, isn't that so annoying? What am I supposed to talk about?
You selfish dick? Why am I even critiquing this if you're just gonna treat me like an asshole and that anyone could have done it? Fuck you, show. Actually, I changed my vote. Fuck FUBAR, making me feel self-conscious about the only time I feel superior.
That's fair, man. That's more than fair. So, Just to wrap it up, I think we've made it pretty clear. Both Charlie and I we're of a mind. This is eminently watchable, right? And this that time of year. I'm not even gonna go ahead and talk about the fucking the striking elephant in the room, because who knows when we're going to have access to so much new content. Never mind good or bad. It's new. Like that's the aspect of it that's undeniable. And I know Charlie kind of likes to use that as a kind of benchmark. So I'm going to do the same. It's undeniably new, if nothing else. And when you have amazing shows that are coming to an end, not just for their season but for the series, that is going to be increasingly more rare out there in the world. So something like this, the only spoiler that I'm going to put out there is they've gone ahead and set it up nicely for a season 2. So this wasn't a short run vanity project or anything along those lines. This is rightfully intended for extended storytelling, and I think it's totally worth it, man. Arnold, he's still got it. Like, he may not physically be that same guy that's gonna, fight off a dozen wolves with just like an old ass crom sword. He's not gonna rip open his robot body and expose his bionic pecker. Those days are past. The Kennedy family will be the first one to tell you that. But this new chapter in the Arnold storytelling world is it's a good one, man. I think it sets it up to be a very good one. As I said, this show might be a parody, a wink and a smile, but it's in many ways, most ways even, better than the shit that it is parodying. And I would much prefer Arnold in this capacity than to hang on, bro. There's nothing worse than when these stars, like these bigger than life stars for us, who grew up with them, we have action figures of their likeness. Like, you don't want to see that guy doing a fucking, doing a continent's fucking yogurt commercial looking at you. Like, this is a good step, same way that Sylvester Stallone has taken kind of like a sidestep into these new roles, which he's absolutely awesome in, and are just very, very watchable. I would put FUBAR in that same damn category. And you know what, Charlie? If someone sits there and tells you, they look in your face and say that Arnold Schwarzenegger doesn't have it anymore, what are they, kid? Just like that toy boy, Ellis, cover your ears, George fucking Lucas, they are
a goddamn liar. Why?
Word up, son. Yeah, baby. Han shot first, kid. Clink.
Salud.
Salud, baby.
Oh, God.
Que delicioso.
John, before we move on, we got to click on the same comment.
Of course we do.
Removing it from the segment. Fucking Joker stream. If Netflix was shilling, I could properly shill back.
Oh, Joker.
I don't love their
Joker,
password
you have no
bullshit.
idea.
But John, before we move on, I think there's an elephant in the room that must be addressed.
Another one?
Other than my chronic depression. Fuck, marry, kill. Schwarzenegger, Stallone, Van Damme.
Well, that's an interesting question, my dude.
Those playing the home game, feel free to drop it in the comment section. But John, I cannot possibly proceed in this episode. You mentioned the pillars of action.
Feel like you could have, but we've already delved down that road. I mean, you know what? Let's go ahead and let's keep it real, bro. My absolute all-time favorite action movie star, because that's clearly his definition. That shit's on his business card. Is gonna be Stallone. Not so much because I really thought that he necessarily did it better than Arnold, but I think that if you have to go pound for pound the content, and I kind of stack up the resumes, I think that Stallone's material has held up the best, and I think that he really kind of like leaned into that. So that's pure love. I'm gonna I'm going to marry.
Put a ring on it.
I'm going to definitely marry Stallone, even
You
though he doesn't have
will.
He doesn't have the Rocky rights, which I know are very profitable. I'm willing to sing for my supper. But that being said, Arnold still puts out bangers and bangers and bangers, even in 2023. So he can definitely get the old scuttle where it takes. So we're definitely smashing me and Arnold. And then I'm sorry, the muscles from Brussels. While he has plenty of very memorable and enjoyable content for me personally, I'm gonna have to kill that son of a bitch. Just like I was one of the Hell's Angels, because he took a beating from one of their members. But yeah, sorry to say it, JCVD's got to go. What about you?
That's beautiful. I would never disrespect the action stars of yesteryear by answering that sort of question. John, son of a bitch. I am a person who struggles with my faith. Given setups like this, help it along the way. But I've always had a very, very weird relationship with the church. I've had a weird relationship with my own level of faith. I respect religion more than I do some of the organizations. But I think it's safe to say that anything, the best thing in the world, can be manipulated by some of the worst people. And that's where our next movie takes place. The sort of world of someone bastardizing a book at bare minimum I respect and kind of manipulating it to fit their needs. We are talking about Kevin Smith's most auteur film in his lineup. We're talking Red State. I had a very rough week last week, and when in doubt, despite my religious confusion, I go to my happy place. I go to a place that I very
Charlie's
much refer
church.
to as my church. I know a lot of his fans would say the same thing, but we, of course, with John in tow, we spent our weekend at Smod Castle Cinemas, the house that Kevin Smith bought. He didn't build it because that theater was around for his childhood even.
That was his church, yeah.
We the showing that most fit our schedules was Red State just this last Saturday. It's been a couple years. I try to watch all of Kevin's flicks once a year because, again, I just enjoy the fuck out of them. But when I think Kevin Smith, I don't necessarily go running to Cop Out because that wasn't really his. Right. And I don't necessarily run to Red State because you have to be in a particular mood to enjoy a film filled with fucking assholes. And top to bottom, Red State is filled with goddamn assholes. Pun very much intended. John, for those people at home that don't know, the simplest breakdown of this film is pretty much it's an extreme version of the Westboro Baptist Church, which are sewers, not doers, as the film itself says. They're those assholes with the signs that say, God hates fags, when we all know any sort of intelligent creator would look upon that Phelps family and go, yuck, hutui, you fucking jerks. However, this takes place with a very, very extreme version of that sort of ideology, one that involves a shit ton of guns come the beginning of the second act. John, you and I have now seen Red State together twice. We actually saw Red State when it toured the country.
Damn
Kevin
right.
Smith,
OG style.
Kevin Smith was a little bit sick of the system. He always kind of cited the kind of silly logic behind you make a movie for $1 million, then you spend $2 million to advertise it. Maybe
the Hollywood
give
dogma, as it were.
Oh, look at this kid. So when he took it on tour, it kind of started a trend that he continued just this year with Clerks 3, which we also saw during the convenience store and saw again at my church, the Smod Castle Cinema, for what I like to call a butt-numathon. But it was, in fact, Clerks open all night when he played all three flicks back-to-back with Q&As in between. This was also gifted with an auction before and a Q&A after. But John, let's just dive into the flick first. What did you think about Red State on what must be your fourth or fifth viewing total, but your second time seeing it on the big, massive screen?
Yeah. So I absolutely love Red State for multiple reasons. And this is not shilling. I'm the first, well, maybe the second if Charlie's around. I'm the first or second to say if I didn't enjoy something. My policy, once again for the 100th time, it's not for me to say something was great or something sucked. I can only really tell you I really enjoyed this or I didn't enjoy that. And if you know me and you say I line up with this guy's opinions, that usually will mean if I like something, you'll like it. If I didn't like something, you probably won't. Or if you're like, he's a fucking moron, I'm gonna go the opposite of him, like it was opposite day, and I'll win. I'll win every fucking gamble at the casino. But I really did love Red State, and I'm gonna go ahead and immediately break my own rules and say point blank, this is just a very, very well done movie. This is a great movie. For the simple reason, and Charlie alluded to it earlier, there are very few, if any, people to root for. It's kind of a flick exclusively consisting of dicks. So if there's a dick fight or a sword fight and you walk into the bathroom, most times you're like, whoop, out of order, and you turn around and walk out. Not this time, man. This particular sword fight, you say, "Oh shit," and you just want to watch it, right? You don't have any skin in the game per se because there's clearly bad guy versus bad guy. They're just different fucking bad guys, man. And sometimes when that shit happens, and the fucking bullets start flying, and the mutilation is happening, and the dogma is fucking misinterpreted. There's really only one winner. This guy, Charlie, it was outstanding. Even better on the big screen as our most cinematic features. Just dynamite and some delicious fucking popcorn. Never hurt nobody. I absolutely loved it. It was an event. It was a fucking event.
You know what always kind of throws me off about Red State specifically is just how beautifully it's shot. This is the guy, the guy running the cinematography for this flick is the same guy behind the probably the best season of Mandalorian, which was Mandalorian season 2. This film is shot with this fucking ever-moving camera that sometimes it reeks of Succession in how it's shot as like you're kind of just amongst the people kind of eavesdropping. To other times it's strapped to the actor's face.
Or behind the actor's ass in certain points.
Seeing poor cousin Greg right before he gets got was something really special.
This movie should have prepared cousin Greg for everything and more than what he had to contend with in Succession. That's for damn sure. Ooh, that rat tail notwithstanding. How funny was it that Kevin, he fucking dropped the knowledge bomb that cousin Greg asked her that shit. He's like, yeah, I want this like particular hairstyle. It's like kind of skinny ponytail. Oh, a rat tail? Nah, but it's like real thin and like it's just part of the back. Oh, a rat tail? You mean? Fucking children. God damn it.
I do love even in the retelling of that story, there was a generational frustration.
Oh man,
that poor Kev Smith had to deal with.
You don't deserve Z Cavaricis, you punk.
I can't get over how good it is, and I think the main takeaway from my reviewing is that is an extremely enjoyable, fucked up film. I think in my head, like being that it was a little time since I've seen it, in my head I thought it was one of those watches that like make you not feel well, and they're kind of hammering home a message. No, it's just fucked up. Just every minute of this film is me being like, that's fucked up. The girl from the bad extra season of Scrubs, she's wonderful in it, and you think she's going to be a good guy, and then she goes on the most just batshit crazy, like, those goddamn child, like she turns into a country bumpkin asshole.
Oh yeah, I loved her on Scrubs. She's going to be, oh no, she's not going to be a good guy? Okay, cool. More popcorn.
there is Ralph Garman just like pulling a silent Bob. He gets got, and I feel bad. Then I remember, like, it's not Ralph Garman. There's a fucking asshole who's trying to, like, basically duct tape people to crosses.
Ralph Garman doesn't deserve that, but Caleb did. Fuck him.
Yeah, fuck Caleb right in the face. What I most of all really enjoyed was having been to a bunch of screenings at Smodcastle Cinema in beautiful New Jersey.
Atlantic Highlands, if you're GPSing it now.
Every single showing you see with Kevin Toe, there's a lot of cheering. Every time you see an actor you love, start screaming. There was none of that bullshit with Red State. The most activity that film generated, other than sheer like, uh-oh, at the very end, you hear the fucking end of the world sirens go off, and instinctually, I put my arms up and like, oh, fuck me. I couldn't get over how he gave us a 20-minute explanation about why Red State can't end with angels showing up, killing the fucking bad guys, and the four horsemen.
Per the original script.
The four horsemen looking at everybody be like, it is the end of the world, bitch. I got a 20-minute lecture on why that ending didn't make no goddamn sense.
Kevin
and I'm
said,
still desperate to see it.
All right, kids, I'm glad you're here, but let me tell you why you're stupid and I'm smart. And all of us, almost to an attendee, were like, okay. And that's something that definitely does need to be spoken about, because when you're thinking about the Kevin Smith canon, Red State, I don't think for most people kind of immediately comes to mind, and it should. Granted, it's outside the Jersey saga of the familiar characters, the repeat characters that we've kind of grown to love almost from jump. This is something that's independent, right? Like, so if the Kevin verse, if the View Askew verse has an Elseworld, so this would probably be in there. Mainly because there are certain performers who play different. Like, you expect the TVA to show up at some point. Like, what the fuck is going on here? But the experience. Look, this is an unpaid for promotion. If you have the opportunity to go see a flick that Kevin Smith is hosting, do it. Take full advantage of it, because with life being what it is, we realize these opportunities, any opportunities, they don't come a-knocking all the fucking time. And some, granted, are more than others. But to have access to this level of filmmaker, even if you just want to look at it as like, this motherfucker has had crazy opportunities, yeah, he'd be the first one to tell you that. And he'll also be the one to tell you what it looked like, what it meant, how it was parlayed, how it could have gotten fucked up. Like, you're going to get, in effect, it's like the bonus content for DVDs and Blu-rays when they were still a thing, and Charlie would gobble up those motherfuckers. So I know for a fact Charlie is absolutely in love with the Kevin Smith showings. It is so worth it. It really is. It adds an entirely new dimension to any of these flicks, and he doesn't just have showings like this of his own work. Granted, there's a different level of accessibility there, and obviously inside knowledge, but he's a fucking filmmaker of the first caliber. So when he did one immediately before that of Jaws, dude, I was furious that I wasn't there, because Jaws is one of my all-time favorite movies. I very much love the book, though it's one of the rare occasions where the movie is better than the book. No offense, Peter Benchley. Guys, these are the opportunities that, like, you'll talk about one day. It's like a conversation piece, ugly-ass sculpture in your living room, except it's something that you can carry around with you wherever you go. It is awesome. So grateful that Charlie really opened my eyes to this type of movie watching. It was awesome. It was a great night.
It's just a very different experience. I always forget that you weren't much of a commentary guy.
Never.
I was obsessed. My friend had a Laserdisc collection, and the whole gimmick there was like, it looked the best, but also it had all these fucking bonus features. So the first time I ever heard kind of Kevin speak long form was he did a commentary track for Clerks
awesome.
on Laserdisc only. It wasn't on the DVD. It certainly wasn't on the fucking VHS, which was my copy. I do think, though, for those uninformed, Red State starts in a way that I think does give an opportunity for it to be retroactively stuffed back into the Askewniverse proper.
Oh, you think
so? If I may just paint you a photo,
Nice.
So
Charlie, let me go ahead and give you Mr. Smith's checkbook and
done.
Go.
I mean, I feel like it's the opposite. I feel like I'm going to go fundraise to like get the angel ending. Because what do you say? It would cost like $8 million. Be like, we could fucking do that. So the movie opens with these three friends, very kind of Askewniverse ready friends, if not for their wild southern accents. They're trying to get laid, right? So they go online. There's a lady that wants to sex them all up at the same time. Turns out it's a trap. They're gonna fucking definitely kill you in the church.
Honey trap.
Presumably, this wonderful, evil honey trap, because we all know a good honey trap.
A good honey trap
is...
will never, ever advertise for her own fucking Oscar nomination. Just putting that out there. That's red flag number 1, Melissa Leo.
I personally feel like this is something they've done before. I feel like the way the movie's
whoa!
Not the three friends, you degen, the church setting up a profile of like, ooh, you want to get your dick sucked? Haha, we're crucifying and shooting you. I think you and Red State have this amazing performance from one of the most class actors of all time. May he rest in peace. You got Kevin Smith's voiceover telling him to shut the fuck up. We go to credits. John, I vote that we get a View Askew mid-credit bonus scene. We cut to that same trailer where those three boys went to go have sex with the older lady. Remember, it was a trap. And who shows up? They swing open the door. Jay and Silent Bob took a road trip to try to get laid. And they just see that, like, no one's there. I can't believe this shit happened again. More credits. I think it is a proper way to have no man left out from the View Askewniverse bubble. John, the kind of final thought I have, the final thing I wanted to briefly talk about, was I couldn't believe how differently the movie plays now in 2023 than it did when it first came out. At the time, and even now, he says that wasn't necessarily any sort of political statement he was making. It wasn't a religious statement he was even making beyond it can be misinterpreted. It can be kind of molested into whatever fucking nonsense someone wants to do. However, we're living in a day and age where a person like Fred Phelps, if they were to be not so obvious of a joke, if they were to start this, fucking, God hates gays, we're seeing it. We're seeing people march into Target and tear down signs. And there's rumors online that the person that did it in one specific video, maybe they're a regular on a gay dating site, and then that may have been bullshit. But regardless, the thought stays the same. This sort of weird, in my opinion, misdirected anger and vitriol that seems to be coming from every fucking direction, it's more powerful than ever. And I think one thing that became amazingly crystal clear with Red State, by virtue of everyone kind of being a scumbag, was, man, don't be a scumbag. Like, I know that sounds stupid, right? But I left that movie being like...
It's the most basic, if you boil it down to its most basic components.
Which is kind of like 200%. The Bible. Like, it's kind of like a guide to not be a fuckface, and yet people mess that up all the time. My takeaway was these are a bunch of people who not only, I would say 60 to 80% of the characters in Red State not only think they're doing good, they think they're doing absolute good. And then there's 20% that think they certainly aren't bad, when the reality is they're at bare minimum, they're fucking idiots. At the worst spectrum of it,
really
they're bad people. So it was interesting watching that film, and you get sucked in because it's incredibly well written. You get sucked in to be like, oh, maybe I'm this character, maybe I'm that character, and every single fucking time, Kevin smacks you in the hand and be like, no, that person sucks too. I was shocked at how relevant the film is in 2023.
Yeah,
maybe
man,
more so
it
than when it
holds
came
up because I was sitting there and I was immediately thinking about like the going ons in Waco, Texas, right, where that story, the way that played out in the media at the time, like in same time, it almost forced people to have an opinion. It forced people to take sides one way or the other, and it's unfortunate because those type of things do languish, right? So the feelings people had, the opinions that they garnered, or were either maybe force fed at the time, they tend to cling on to them. And what I ended up taking away from it, Charlie, is while granted there were certain percentage of either side that were absolute true believers, right? Both sides, they had a stern belief like this is what it is. Whereas the other, and I'll use your percentages, the other 80% were more in the tune of, well, this is what we have to do. Right, I this is my team. I put on that jersey. This is what I have to do. In ice hockey, if your team gets into a fight, you better get your ass up the fucking ice and get into that fight, because after the fact, win, lose, or draw, your own team is gonna look at you and say, "Yo, where the hell were you?" And a lot of times for these type of groups, whether it's law enforcement, whether it's religious zealots, the kind of like following the rule book is far more important than interpreting the rule book. And when you do that, you relinquish control to the small percentage of that team that's going to say, all right, I'll look at the rule book and I'll tell you what it means. I'll tell you what rules you're supposed to follow. And if you're smart, you're going to do likewise. Or else, Alanis Morissette is never too far away. Yeah, like I said, I absolutely fucking adored it. Michael Parks is the gentleman that you were referring to, who's since left us. I mean, he is like a virtuoso level of performance, to the point where, and again, Mr. Smith said it best. It really was, he embodies the characters that he plays. He's not acting. You don't see the work, to use kind of like the Hollywood parlance. He's just is, right? He is that thing that he's portraying. And fucking Justin Long will tell you himself, it makes it sometimes difficult if if the person who's torturing you're gonna have coffee with 5 minutes later after portraying a certain thing. But that's just that level of performance sometimes requires that higher level of commitment in order to get it out there. I believed every fucking word. I really did, and this is
a troubling way.
100%, but this is like a thinking movie. It's the type of thing you can talk about years after it was initially released. It's still to the same level. Like Charlie said, with the stuff that's going on right now, we're like, you got to be careful what beer that you're drinking, because it's going to send a political message, which I think is fucking crazy. I don't understand why we can't just all agree Bud Light just tastes bad. Like, can't we just leave it at that, and all the other political stuff can work itself out some other fucking venue? It's crazy. It's still crazy times.
Fucking Kid Rock losing his mind made me like have to go buy a Bud Light like a dickhead, because I'm like, I gotta let people know I'm not a fucking total moron filled with hatred. I'll take a Bud Light and a chaser of an actual adult beer, please, and then just also throw out that Bud Light. But everyone, do me a favor, I ordered a Bud Light.
Can you pour a Sam Adams into an empty Bud Light can for me, so I can actually enjoy my drink and the message that I'm sending out there? Again, Charlie, for me, Red State was an absolute fucking banger.
Yeah,
literally and figuratively, I would watch it again right now.
I always judge someone by the context of what they say. So Ellis saying that Red State isn't good while just having a Jar Jar Binks pair of underoos on is just the type of lunacy that I'm here for.
Show some respect, bro. They are feety pajamas, and the temperature has been all over the place today, so No hate
Fair.
there. No hate there.
Fair. Red State actually kind of hard to get on DVD and Blu-ray. It's currently not being pressed. However, it just did get re-upped. So I don't think it's anywhere streaming right now. The DVD you can get as low as like $15. If you buy it from a second-hand market. New, it's probably going to run you about $25. I can absolutely promise you that I drink exceptional beer, but also even $25 for a copy of Red State's first printing or pressing is money well spent. Another place you can spend money, of course, is Smodcastle Cinema. Yet another place you can spend money is Jay and Silent Bob's Secret Stash, where if you use code word Christian, you don't get any percentage off, but everyone knows you knew a really cool motherfucker
They're
who
like,
made
this guy's
songs
all right.
for Chuck E. Cheese, man. For the cheese, for the pizza mouse.
The composer Christian.
But John, what's great about when we recommend something to you, be it a product, be it a place to go, is that we're not like those other piece of shit podcasts that get millions of views and all sorts of revenue. No, we're fucking losers. And I've dragged you down to my loser level, but luckily we're not like other pods who sell for any random brand that's willing to pay. Because once again, we are brought to you by one of our our absolute favorite bands, and that, of course, is Bad Mary. You heard them during the intro. You're going to hear them again during the end. They might be already on the plane heading to Japan.
They're at least packed up.
A brand new album. But if you're wondering where else you can catch their act, you can follow them over at Bad Mary Band across all social media platforms. You can support them over on patreon.com/Bad Mary Band. You can stay up to date at badmary.com for merch. My favorite part, though, is their whole discography, including that brand new album, available right now from every single music streaming service.
Damn straight. And if we play our cards right, we actually might be their first stop when they are back stateside after their glorious, I'm sure, tour of Japan. But that does still beg the question, Charlie, where we dropping? Most of the time, it's going to be this little triangular spot where there's 2 red trees and a yellow one, and that bitch Remedy better be hireable. But barring that, we can go ahead and say with Sergeant Finesse. You can currently find him still as a gaming partner over on Facebook, but he is spending more and more and more time at kick.com. Multiple streams every day, outstanding video game content, supporter games, co-streams, giveaways, contests. Don't be a sucker. Check him out today. Also, as well as on both Twitch and Kick, you can find our good friend Jokers_stream_ just doing all that dynamite gameplay, cosplaying, just an absolute maniac and a killer, an absolute killer on the Fortnite fields with that island soon to be changing. I don't know about you, Joker, but I am ready to ride a dinosaur across that jungle biome, kid. Check out Joker's stream today, either on Twitch or on Kick. He's a killer. But Charlie, look, much like our sponsored content, sadly, much like our walkthrough of outstanding movies and even more outstanding popcorn, much like the reinvention of a 80s icon that absolutely carried us through our little toy boy phases. Some of us are still in it. Charlie, some things, sometimes the best things, must come to an end.
Oh, fuck off!
Oh, boy. I'm glad that I didn't make Joker any promises, because I am going to go there. It ain't too soon. I could have talked about it ad nauseum that night. Literally, not literally, figuratively, one of my own personal Mount Rushmore shows, while not having stolen it from the Black Hawk Indians. That also kind of thought it was a pretty important mountain range. I don't know why you're carving giant heads into it. But that all being said, a Mount Rushmore show for the ages. Succession on used to be HBO, but now for some reason Max is over, kid. It's over. The fucking game of Monopoly that didn't seem like it was ever going to have a clear winner. Bro, there was a clear winner.
And it was us. Losers too.
It was us. I mean, there are some losers out there, granted, but Charlie, we absolutely won. We got to go along on this journey, this complete journey, because the one thing that really struck me the most about this series is that it was a tidy little, absolutely filthy, rich, and beautifully acted and incredibly written and shot package, kid. It was a fucking package from beginning to end. They knew how it was going to end before the first fucking minute of cameras rolled at the beginning. And I really think that, forget about the 8 fucking stories that exist in the world. Forget about the way to take character arcs that are interesting and fucking enjoyable. Take all of that very important, admittedly, shit and throw it away. I'm here to tell you the most important rule number 1 if you're standing at the top and getting the commandments emblazoned in stone, to Mel Brooks. The most important thing if you're going to tell a great story that people are going to care about, know how it's going to end. Kid, you gotta know how it's going to end in order to really convince anybody that's an important story to pay attention to. It's got to be building continuously and never going off track to how it is going to end. So I don't know how Charlie wants to approach the spoiler aspect of it, but I don't need to go too heavy-handed. I'm far more interested in who won the inevitable fucking war of succession as to how the storytelling was done. I hope that's okay with you, Charlie. Obviously, you have your own.
I have to be honest. Go fuck yourself if you're the one person who didn't see, like, if you didn't see the end, but you saw the rest, like, go fuck your mother. Fuck off. Like, sincerely,
That's
fuck
fair.
off.
That's fair.
I'm not
Charlie
trying to quote the show.
Charlie
like,
has his moments.
They've been giving out they've been giving fucking free acting lessons for years, and you're like, I was gonna watch all of Succession after it wrapped. Fuck yourself.
I was gonna do one sitting, make a little picnic, and
fucking hipster douchebag, fucking contrarian fucking bitch. Fuck yourself.
The only safe one is going to be Ellis. He's like, these people all sound like trash. Ellis, you would be right. The one thing storytelling wise that I think is super important towards even building up towards the end, much less the finale itself, really, and there's a lot of connections in that methodology to Red State that we just finished speaking about. There are no good guys. There are no white hats in this particular story, and even if there were some gray hats floating around in there, them shits got blackened up sheerly by the sense of the company that they were keeping. So to see, like, I can only kind of think of it as like a praying mantis and a fucking murder hornet get thrown into a jar, screw the top on, I keep my little fingies safe, and just like, shake it up, see what happens. That was this show, bro.
Yeah, you take a second to be shocked that they're fucking. You're like, what?
Well, not entirely wrong. Not entirely wrong. But, Charlie, I fucking adored this journey that they took us on, man. And you know how, like, what level I can apply to it that really probably means the most? Is that I enjoyed the journey so much, I'm actually not in any pain that it's over. Right? I have
to be honest.
The next Sunday that rolls around that there's no Succession, there'll be a certain feeling that I need to address, but I'm not happy that it ended. I'm grateful that it happened.
Yeah, Succession made me feel dirty. So like, I am grateful it's over.
But you are dirty though.
I don't know if I could have handled another fucking year of like Shiv being like, fuck it. Like, oh, you cunt. You didn't mean the thing you just said. You fucking jerk. You goddamn jerk. Like, there is...
Just one more Kendall, show... like, yeah, good,
well,
yeah. No, it's not, Kendall. I don't like what you're saying, sir.
Kendall, if you go into water one more... I fucking get it. The water's a metaphor! The son of a bitch. You son of a bitch. The brilliance... I hate the way that sounds. Like, everyone has to take a piss now.
Everybody's gonna pause to pee.
Little Kendall is about to... Is he gonna drown? Is he gonna surf? I don't fucking know. I do think Succession was one of those shows that was so masterfully assembled that it was truly a situation where if we got like one more inappropriate dick joke, if we got one more explanation about how everyone's a fucking douchebag, if cousin Greg like fumbled into more money one more time, it did run the risk of, in my opinion, and this might be an unpopular opinion, it did run the risk of outstaying its welcome, because when you're flying next to the sun, it's easy to fucking get burnt. Because this show, because the one thing I disagree with what you said, I agree and I disagree simultaneously. The show ends very neatly.
Yeah.
And then immediately, for at least me and some people like me, we all went into fan fiction mode.
Of course.
I want to know the next conversation. Max Landis, canceled writer, who I still adore. Sorry, not sorry. Max Landis said he couldn't help but want one more scene with everyone. And for the first time in a long time, I really disagree with him. Because, like, not getting anything beyond the ending we got, it lent itself so much. Like, I want to hear I want to be at the next Christmas dinner with that family. I want to find out what happens with the company. Mm-hmm. I want to know every fucking beat. And what this allows me to do is on my next rewatch, which likely is going to start in a couple weeks, it's going to allow me, knowing where you end, to know where you start. Because I don't want to take over your topic. But one thing I'm going to throw out there, and I won't elaborate unless you want to have that conversation.
I'm going to have questions for you, so be prepared.
Sure. So one thing that struck me when I rewatched the finale was that ultimately this show, to me, is an example of what happens when love is chaotic. Because I truly think that their dad loved them too much.
Really?
And I feel like that's going to be a really unpopular takeaway, but I think every bit of shenanigans that happened these few years was because a father loved his kids unconditionally and wanted to will them into something none of them were able to be. I think those characters were always who they were, and it might be because of their father. That's up for conversation. But I think ultimately that the father, the leader of this family, the original leader of this company, the king who's handing down his kingdom.
Yeah.
I think he loved his kids too much.
So I'm gonna pull a candle right here and be like, yeah, So I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna disagree with you and vote against your inheriting the company. I hope that doesn't affect our relationship moving forward. Not that I can imagine it ever would.
Just vote yes. Vote yes, you bitch.
So I disagree with that take specifically on Senor Roy, on Logan. What I think it is, though, what I really think it is that he thought of his company as another one of his children. So while he may not have quote unquote loved his Connor, he may not have fucking loved Connor, say, more or less than Kendall or any of them, Siobhan or whomever the fuck. But the company was as important as them. And what he did show was that, like, everybody had their turn, right? Everybody had their turn with his attention, but he was, and probably the reason for much of his success, almost as much as the ruthlessness in which he approached things, he had blinders on. So if he is contending with you, Charlie, you're getting this version of him, right? And that's going to feel, Siobhan said it best, that's going to feel like the warmth of the sun on you after having been cold. The problem is that if he only has his attention on you, the others in that fucking lineup, they are out in the cold. They're in the shadow. And the loudest voice that called for attention, you might have fucking thought it was Kendall or it was whomever. It was the company. The company was a constant call for attention. Me. take care of me first. So I think that was probably like the biggest issue. I do agree with the take that like they are who they are because of that relationship they had or that they didn't have with their pops. But I'll disagree with this last thing, and then if you don't mind, I'm gonna pull the reins back. What if, I'll put it to you this way. So what if this crazy, like mind-blowing, surprising thing happens in their collective lives? The only one that wasn't affected was Logan, because he did. This thing happens, and it becomes a mile marker in their life, a chapter in their life that nothing in the past and maybe nothing moving forward will ever come close to. Are you really that interested then in seeing the diminishing returns? Not of the show, because it'll always have been written and shot and acted beautifully, but in their fictional lives. If nothing is ever as big and or impactful to any of their lives as what just happened, the fuck do I want to hear about it for? It's not going to hold a candle. So better for me to say, oh, look at that, and close the fucking book and put it back up on the shelf and know that I can go back to it at any given moment. If I want to say, oh, look at this shit to somebody who missed it.
Well,
you know
that's
what I mean?
not you disagreeing with me. That's you 100% agreeing with me.
Then you know what? That makes Charlie right. Because, I definitely feel that way. And I can't take all the credit because, I forget his name, but the actor who plays Kendall, he actually sat in with, the fuck did he sit with? He sat with, I don't know, some talking head or another. And to me, I was like, is this just a fucking cut scene? Because it looks like as if, Kendall Roy is having a fucking talking head show meeting. But no, it was him saying in effect that much. He said they were all allowed to kind of like take that script mentally and run it along the line. And in no fucking version were like, oh, and then Kendall fucking went on to build a bigger company on his own that was even bigger. No, like nothing that we came to think or were told or implied would ever lead us to think that any of the siblings would have gone on to anything even remotely as interesting as the shit that we just saw. So I'm more than content. But this does lead me into my bigger point, and then we'll wrap the show with it. This show, as universally, I think, respected, if not loved, or both, I'm not really catching much fucking wind of people like, I hated that ending. And that's almost a guarantee when you have a show that becomes a cultural phenomenon, right? What we used to call a water cooler show when water coolers were still a thing. This was a fucking cultural fucking, it was a bomb on our cultural fucking awareness. And people are talking about it plenty, but I'm not really getting that fucking vibe of like, I hated it, blah, blah, blah. You might have had your personal preferences. I would say, again, they were all shit people, so I didn't really care who won. I cared far more about how they won. I'm going to throw it to you immediately, Charlie. There are shows that were also immediately part of the zeitgeist. The second that they started running, they became very important to know about, to follow, and to talk about. And as they had their inevitable endings, you certainly did get that, woo, I love the way that ended. Hate that it ended, but I love the way they did it. Or people who are fucking stabbing angry, I'm going to fight you over how it ended. So immediately I'm going to throw it to you, Charlie. Of all the shows out there that you have invested your heart and your attention and your fucking time to, give me a show that absolutely fucking nailed the rap. Where, like I said before, you weren't even sad that it was over. You're like, that is like a fucking amazing meal, and there was dessert and a little fucking espresso to suck down after the fact, where you sit back, undo your top button, pull an Al Bundy like that. That was a satisfying fucking meal. I'm gonna start digesting right now. Give me the one that did you just right.
I'm gonna start on one I know you definitely aren't thinking of, because we do that far too often. I'm going to go with an animated show. I'm going to go with the original finale to Futurama. The last episode of the original run of Futurama is who is that? Fry. It was Fry and Leela get stuck in a time gets frozen around them. They live their whole lives together. They were always like, will they, won't they? They are the only fucking two people. They clearly love each other. They live into their old age when finally opens up a time vortex and they can kind of be unfrozen at the point they left. And they choose to restart the journey so that they can be together again. It's beautiful. It's poignant.
Touching,
it's the second most tear-filled that show made me. There's the episode with his dog that kills my soul.
Oh, that was brutal. But
Futurama's original ending was
to you when you have an animated, like 4 laughs type of show like that?
Yes!
And you're like,
if it's a comedy and you make me feel shit, you're a bastard-coded bastard with bastard sauce, and I'm going to send fucking Demon Koga after you from the purple site. Just
Demon joining us from Twitch. What's up, kid?
But it caught me completely off guard. It was everything I wanted it to be. Honestly, as much as I love Futurama, I know it's getting another revival, and I'm excited for it.
Sure. Well, now that they have the cast.
But for me, the finale is always going to be that first series finale that kind of closed it up.
Great pull. That's a great pull. So, in my good pile, and actually, for 2 of the reasons that we discussed already, number 1, in almost the exact opposition to what happened on Succession, almost to a cast member and character, I absolutely love almost everyone on this show. I would break bread, tip one back with almost anyone on this show, and some more than others, if you get my meaning. But also, as well as, this show went the opposite of Succession. We're like, well, that was the most interesting thing to happen. Don't worry about what happens next. This show was like, nah, son, hold my beer, because here's what happens next. And the highlight and big bonus of everybody, every fucking character, down to like the least important ones that you forgot thinking about after season 1, Parks and Rec. Parks and Rec is absolutely one of my favorite and most entertaining shows in my Rolodex of shit to watch. And they bar none had one of the best fucking finales. They did not leave a stone unturned. They told you what happened to every single character and some side characters who were in those final seasons leading up to the end. They let you know who fucking ran for office, who didn't get married and have kids, how they fucking went about it, who didn't create holidays, who didn't fucking go under the ocean for their next adventures. It was awesome. It was so satisfying that even the characters that didn't have particular specific endings, like shipping that was happening that didn't work out, or whatever the fuck, like there are certain things that I kind of like played mental masturbation with, like, I hope this happens and I hope this happens, where they were like, nah, John, you're dumb, just sit there and watch. They didn't do what I per se wanted them to, but the way that they handled it, Charlie, that shit didn't matter. I absolutely love the show, and even more so love the finale. Just perfectly done, especially for that type of storytelling.
That's amazing. Well, can I do another?
Actually, I'm going to go ahead and play a little bit of the fucking black hat myself. I'm going to ask you now, though, give me a show that you were all about, that it ended, and you just had nothing but the fucking stank face. You're like looking at the screen, you're like, what? Am I being punked here? There's more, right? Did they accidentally show us the outtakes version, the one that they filmed, so that no fucking rumors got out to the contrary? Charlie, give me a finale of a show that you were about where you fucking hated the ending.
Oh, shit. That's really good. I'm going to disqualify all the shows that just kind of end because they don't know they have a finale.
Allegedly. If they're cut off, they're like, oh, you're canceled. Oh, but we got my story.
Fuck, that's really, really solid.
Do you want me to give you a little time to put it together, and I'll tell you mine?
Yeah, you go first. Let me think.
I am going to go with, and this may be a surprise to some people as far as Not necessarily the ranking of it might be surprising because people have stronger feelings elsewhere. This particular show also a cultural phenomenon. There were parties, there were get-togethers, so that people could watch this show as a fucking collective unit and discuss theories. This is a show that was all about theories and what does this mean and what does that mean. Oh, the fucking break in the grain grass was this and the bunker code is XYZ. Naturally, I am talking about this guy's very first binge. I was binging Lost. I was binging Lost before anyone even knew what binging was. I said, what the fuck is everybody talking about? I did not catch it from the jump. I caught up mad quick, though. Actually, I was sick, which made it very, very convenient to be in home under the covers with the sheet pulled up right to my chinny chin chin. And I just watched episode after episode after episode of Lost. They instantly fucking had caught my attention. I'm like, oh no, a zoo that somehow has a polar bear in the middle of a jungle biome. I don't know, but I'm sure they're going to tell me, wrong. No, they are not. This fucking show, if this show was a person, I would ball up my fingies and I'd punch them right in the mush. They have a lot of explaining to do, Charlie. And I'm not just talking about what the fuck was this show about. I mean, why would they do that to me? A loyal viewer, a spender of money on your fucking no-frills looking products. You son of a bitch, Lost. You son of a bitch. Not Charlie, totally not because this happened, I wanted that. No, Charlie. Tell me anything. You cannot have a show that is explicitly based on like dropping little fucking nuggets and clues and then say, it's over, thanks for playing. What? What are you talking about? That's like a fucking escape room where you're fucking doing all the stupid little tasks that you have to do and it never stops, and then 1 minute they're like, bloop, and the door just opens up. All right, thanks for coming by. See you next time. No, you won't, because this fucking escape room is going out of business tomorrow. Charlie, an emotionally and creatively bankrupt show. It was a waste of time. And I think that's the worst thing that you can ever say about any creative endeavor. You give your time and it ends, even if you fucking hate it, sometimes you're still going to say, well, I don't regret it. Charlie, I had nothing but regret on this summer bitch. I hated the finale.
I had that exact same sort of reaction, but not for the reason, at least with Lost, you're joined by the vast majority. Everyone saw the finale of Lost. It was like, go fuck yourself, Lost.
Parties, bro. Parties.
Everyone.
Paperwork.
I think everyone who loved the show would 100% agree with me in my assessment of their finale, but not for the reason that I assess it the way I do. How I Met Your Mother has one of the most bullshit endings of all time. Our main character, the whole fucking show, is like, maybe this one's the mother. And it took me through this fucking asshole Ted with his mopey bullshit, constantly getting some of the finest girls fictional New York City had to offer. And the show ends and you finally meet the mother and she is just as fucking charming and amazing as she would need to be.
Pretty and goofy toothed. You're like, yeah, I can see it. Sure.
Everything the first one to like match Ted, be like, I get, he's still doing way better than he deserves, but not laughably fucking so. And then she dies, and I have no problem with her dying. And then the kids figure out the punchline being, hey, Dad, you just told us this whole fucking story, and Mom's not in it until the last half paragraph. You lying old fuck. Your old balls are filling up with jelly, and you want to make a sandwich. We get it. And they say you're clearly in love with Aunt Robin. Except in the finale, John, Robin, who Colby Smulders, who is the coolest one of the fucking coolest women in sitcom history. Cigar smoking, scotch drinking, keeping up with the hoest guy, fucking badass at laser tag. She's a fucking news anchor. She's a hockey player. She takes no shit.
Excuse me, sir. She also loves going to the mall. Don't forget.
Let's all go. John, she was a Canadian pop star and actress. John, she had a sidekick robot. And this goofy bitch's story ends with her mopey as fuck and like alone and her pursuing her dream job. It wasn't enough. What she needed was Ted Mosby's cock. Get the fuck out of here. If that same ending was like, she should have been April O'Neil, bitch. She should have all sorts. I don't even know what fucking news anchor awards are. What is that, Daytime Emmy? Whatever the fuck. She should have had a wall full of that shit. She should have been in the bed.
The Murrow, the Edward R. Murrow award.
Sure, she should have fucking. Bench? She should have a 12-pack of those. And when he shows up with that bullshit blue half a tuba or whatever the fuck it was, she should have had a 22-year-old intern in her bed that she was using like a fucking sex toy that she says, fuck off. Homeboy fucking figured this shit out finally.
You know what's really interesting about her, especially that character? Because I'm like, this is...
That she's like an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
This is one of the coolest chicks that like has ever graced the screen. But they kind of like, on one hand, like, she is so much like a dude that Barney Stinson, who's like gay in real life, would obviously be attracted to her because like, yeah, there's not much of a... It's like Gina going for fucking... for Michael Scott. It's like, yeah, it's not going to really be that much of a transition for me. Like, she would just... Look, I love so many of my friends, female friends, but, like, I know in my heart, I'm like, well, there can never be a relationship there. Like, loving a person as a person doesn't equate a romantic compatibility. They had no compatibility. And also, as well as Charlie, that show was nothing but a build-up to a fucking nothing burger because the mother, that was the titular mother, wasn't important whatsoever. She was basically a baby delivery system, but that's probably why it required the eventual spin-off How I Met Your Father, who is absolutely starring friend of the show, Ashley Reyes. We're going to have her back on one time again at least. But Charlie, I'm going to go ahead.
She's too busy. She's in every fucking show
she
on
is
WB.
Walker, fucking Texas Rangering it up. She's all over the place. God bless her. But I'm sure we can borrow her time for at least an hour or so. But I'm gonna, Charlie, if you're ready for it, or I'm happy to take the reins. You want to segue into another one of let's keep it posy. Another one of your favorite finales, because there's got to be another one hiding there. No?
Sure, I'm gonna cheat again. Because it was the intended ending, and then the studio said, like, but you got some more for us, right? But like less budget and new cast.
A little more.
The original series finale of Scrubs, one of the absolute most perfect finales. They bring back almost every fucking guest star who had passed away on the show. They show up as ghosts, and my favorite thing is through the entire series.
Bring your own tissues, man. Bring your own tissues.
Every episode of Scrubs has a fantasy sequence where our main character, JD, fantasizes about how this great... If we were fucking Batman and Robin, how great that would be if I was fucking smashing every hot bitch to ever come in the hospital. How great that would be. And the show ends so respectful of that premise because it doesn't end showing us the future. It simply shows us what he hopes the future is, and he has this beautiful line for someone who, for a bulk of that show, was like the most fucking emo asshole. On like any rewatch, it's hard to not notice like this fucking guy just won't stop bitching. I love him, but fuck, it's like dealing with Charlie Rivera. The show ends. Not only does he have an optimistic outlook, he literally says to us like, just this once. Why can't the fantasy be real? And the show sets itself up that like now he's learned enough lessons, he's gone through enough shit, he understands himself, he understands the value of love and friendship better than from the first episode. He fucking earned like that happy ending.
Like a character arc. Oh, isn't that so nice?
But what's beautiful is they kind of have the best of both worlds, because they're saying this is what he hopes happen. It probably happens, audience, but who knows? Life is fucking complicated, and sometimes you lose ones you love. Sometimes shit doesn't work out. My God, the way it fucking ends is so true to itself. It's one of the best needle drops of all time. They drop the Book of Love. I have rewatched Scrubs probably more than any other sitcom.
I was just gonna say that's Charlie's comfort food of shows, bro. Like you could gauge where Charlie's at by what episode on the fucking umpteenth rewatch. So I'm gonna hit you up.
Tears in my eyes every time I watch that finale. It's
fucking
perfect.
For sure. I'm gonna hit you up with my another one of my posies to keep it kind of like a sandwich posi, neggy posi. This is a show, Charlie, that you actually might have put me onto.
I probably did. I'm great.
You certainly fucking gave me the gear. And this was a show, I must admit, on paper, John Little fucking voice was like, this show, you're not going to like this show. This shit ain't for you, man. It ain't for you. So even shows that like sometimes are great, but if you're not into it, you're just not into it. You're not going to enjoy it regardless of the quality of the program, unless there's somebody holding your hand through it. You're like, well, shut up, asshole. You're watching this for me. That's a different story, right? That was not the case here. Charlie Boy Rivera, my younger edition of John, he said, "Hey, big brother, you're ridiculously handsome, incredibly smart, and I look up to you like I was at the fucking foot of the Statue of Liberty trying to peep up that French lady's dress." John, no, I've got it written down. I recorded it. It's fine. It's fine. It's probably going to sound a little bit like my voice, but we get that accusation a lot. Charlie Rivera said, "John, do yourself a favor. Here's a fucking t-shirt from Comedy Central. You gotta check out Broad City."
Fuck yes. City,
I was almost immediately hooked on. And it wasn't fucking Alana's giant boobs.
But they are giant.
They are. It wasn't Abby's infectious optimism. And it was infectious. Charlie, it was the combination of their relationship plus the fucking legitimate belly laughs that this show drew me in. Now, what was very interesting about it was, for Johnny Boy, it was like a fly on the wall type show. I'm like, that's what girls do behind those closed doors? I thought that it was just panties and pillow fights and fucking talking about boys. And it is sometimes. But not always. And this show fucking, it for me, it was a spotlight on kind of like what was possible. You can never really, I think, enjoy something as much as when you're walking into the surprise party. When you thought everybody forgot about your birthday, I was shocked in how much I love the show. But when you're that invested, we all know that the inevitable ending can hurt that much more. Not this time, bro. I loved the fucking finale of this show. And what was very interesting, really, was that they built to it very naturally. They built to the end very like the way that they approached it all was subtle, right? It was subtle. And maybe that's the biggest true difference in the sexes, is the level of subtlety. Because as guys, we're very much like, hey, look at this. This is really funny. Don't you think so? Here's some guns. La, 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 la. And it doesn't always have to be that way. This show has taught me. And the show did teach me stuff. It was hilarious. And obviously its goal number one was just to entertain. And it very much did. But that finale, Charlie, just like you were talking about before, they're like, okay, now we're going to bring it down. It's like when the artist like, oh, now for a slow one. So the characters who we've just absolutely grown to adore during the course of the run are kind of like growing apart. Their lives are on like deviating fucking tracks right now, and we all know that can be some painful shit. The way that they approached it, they said, look, we know this is happening. Let's go ahead. Let's have a fucking all-time Abby and Elena fucking adventure, and that's what we got. Maybe like the biggest scale out of all of their little adventures, but at the end, it was the ultimate definition of bittersweet. right? We knew that it was going to happen. It had to happen. It was good for both of them as individuals. And the camera just fucking pans back and pans back. And effect, they have moved on with their lives, right? It was almost like a romantic relationship. And Alana probably hoped for that. But it was almost like the way romantic relationships do, where you pan back and you pan back and you see they're now in new pairings, right? For friendship purposes, we're assuming. But Charlie, it both broke my heart and grew my fucking heart. You know, I don't know how a funny, gross out, over the top show could have possibly hoped to affect a viewer, an unintended viewer like myself. I don't know what more they could have had on their wish list than fucking that, bro. It broke my heart and it grew my heart. I loved the show without question, but I absolutely loved the way that they wrapped it up. And they wrapped up in the perfect time. I think that was the show that if it went even a minute longer, it would have been diminishing returns, which is a big factor. Fucking outstanding show. Anyone out there who hasn't watched it, originally it was broadcast on Comedy Central. So do the math, figure out what that means. It's streaming now. Or fucking buy it, because come on, bro. Charlie, I fucking loved it, man. I just loved it. What did you think about the finale?
It's wonderful. I mean, again, that show was one that, what I think I liked most about it, and I don't know if it was as subtle as it felt, but every season after season 1 was just got a little bit more grown up. It's almost like they knew well before we did.
It was stacking weight, right? They stacked weight because every decision was cumulative. Cumulatively, thank you very much. I'm a little sleepy. Communicatively more important, bro. Like every choice that they made was more and more important and meaningful.
What I love is they start as an odd couple. It wasn't a surprise.
To a degree, yeah, absolutely.
That they were on 2 different tracks for the entire show. It's just we happened to watch for most of that show when the 2 trains were parallel. Because there's a long time in our lives where the people around... I mean, it's something that you'd never expect a comedy series to teach you something. But they were trying to prepare us all for that reality of, hey man, shit doesn't stay the same. People don't have to change to grow apart. People don't have to be wildly different than they started to not be on the forever exact same path.
And some of us
Charlie, have with that, beautiful moments.
Absolutely. And with comedies itself, like sitcoms, right? Situation comedies, especially, and Family Guy actually does a really good job of pulling the curtain back and saying like, yeah, no, we're going to go through X, Y, and Z for this episode, but don't worry about it. Next week, we're going right back to normal. This wasn't one of those shows like, well, yeah, remember while we had our yucks and we fucking had our laughs last week because of those events, this week those fucking same events have ramifications. And sometimes it's not going to be quite as funny. Yeah, so Charlie and I are in agreement. Absolute banger of a finale. And really the way that you do it, man, you make it so that when you wrap up all the stuff that had come before, the finale is in a lot of ways going to inform people, if they didn't know, how important everything that came prior to it was. The finale is the fucking punctuation on that sentence, and taking it back to the origin of the topic. Succession did exactly that for me. They let us know the reason why that journey was important, to join the Roys, who were more rich than any of us have any hope to hope for, and probably, you know, nepotism's a bitch. What are you gonna do? But if we didn't win that genetic lottery, we're still on our own fucking journey. And so are shows. When they wrap, they let you know how important that fucking show was. Succession, again, an all-time absolute great. I'm glad that I got to ride the ride. But Charlie, here we are, end of the show, $140, pretty much all you guys are going to get from us, because John is sleepy. So do us a favor, Charlie. Tell the good people how we wrap up each and every episode of US Comics Cast. Would you?
Very simple. First, you gotta turn the power on. Then you gotta turn the volume up. Then you gotta tune Bad Mary and open up the window wide and scream out into the night sky, Sam, my space girl! We are...
Just called to say fuck you. I just called to say fuck you. I just called to say fuck you. I just called to say fuck just called to say fuck you. I just called to say fuck you. I just called to say fuck you. I just called to say fuck you. And I think it's gonna be a long, long day. So many numbers I can't count. Is it your lucky day? Should I call you to say fuck you?